Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a quick video on something that I've looked at recently, which is basically about forgiveness. I've just done a really spacey video that includes the idea of energy as well, but I suppose just giving the energy back to old relationships and situations to make room for the new, if you like, without getting too energetically inclined. So just letting something go to make room for the new, but also having the idea of evolving past situations, understanding your own personal mindset and then someone else's, and not shaming someone for either their way of being, or don't try and shame someone into changing how they are. Also, I'm going to be talking about forgiveness and how it's not. So I'll start, I've kind of just said it all already, but also that it's not my response. Like, forgiveness, I've heard, is the best currency, because even if someone hasn't apologised to you, or they're not aware that they've inflicted harm upon you, because a lot of the time people don't actually realise if they're doing anything to harm you until later, or at all. So if someone hasn't realise that they're doing that to you, to just show forgiveness anyway, because you're only really harming yourself if you don't sort of forgive someone and, like, in my eyes, repent for something that you've done. But obviously that's coming from a bit of a Catholic mindset, but I just think that, like, holding a grudge is only going to affect the person that's holding the grudge, more than trying to hold a grudge and shame someone else for something that you have a problem with but they may not. So it's not their responsibility to educate me on why they're doing something, and it's not my responsibility to educate them on why I don't like it necessarily. I guess I'm just differentiating people in life that have experiences, like friends or whatever, and not necessarily like romantic, not necessarily close relationships where you've built that bond already and you're trying to. I'm not really talking about romantic relationships at this point. I'm just saying how in life, like, this is kind of just going through life and meeting different people, how boundaries are helpful, and like knowing your own boundaries. And basically I've tried to develop a philosophy around giving myself more, like, just the same as what I'd give someone else, for example, because I think I heard this phrase, like, there's enough energy for everyone to feed on, but it's about, like, giving yourself the same stuff that you'd give someone else. Because I will admit that I have been, like, a recovering codependent, for example, where you look for validation, or you, like, look for, I don't know, just you're a bit overly dependent on someone else. But really, if that person doesn't give it to you, that's also a big burden on the other person to give you that stuff that you could learn to give yourself. And it's also stressful for you if they don't give it to you. You get upset because that's your expectation of them, which really is quite high expectation. And just learning to give myself the same amount of patience, and it's like your inner child as well, just reprogramming your brain, and also just giving your inner child something that you maybe haven't been able to give them in the past. Like, if you need patience, they say from the sins and virtues in the Bible, the sins is, like, to the opposite of sins is a virtue, which is what you should do if you're committing a sin, for example. So the opposite of, so if I feel internally angry about something, the opposite to the sin, which is wrath, is patience. So if I feel angry, just to step back, just to be patient, say, like, just be patient with yourself and learn more patience, and just things like that. Just giving myself the same amount of empathy that I'd give someone else, the same amount of patience as I give someone else. Because I think about my friends and stuff, and I think I do have a lot of patience for them, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But sometimes you can do it because you're so used to giving it to other people. That's great, but you can also give it to yourself, because certain things, it's so funny how, as humans, and I don't know if this is everyone, but it certainly has been, I think just most people do, if it's so easy how you'll speak or you'll think internally to yourself worse off than what you'd speak to someone else like. And I guess there's no school class that teaches you how to be kind to yourself, but they do discipline you for being nice to other people, so maybe that's part of it. But just self-evaluating what I'm expecting from other people, but also just this is more for myself than anyone else. Giving myself patience, giving myself empathy, because I am an empath and I'm a highly sensitive person, and just the patience and the empathy and the time with God and the peace that you can get from God. Forgiveness, because I can forgive a lot of people, but and the gratitude to God and myself, because obviously I'm not the centre of life and God is the centre of life, but I think from a practical level, religion aside, learning to give yourself the things, especially as a codependent, that you want from other people, you just can't go wrong with that, really, as long as you're not isolating other people in order to, because there is this thing that I've seen in the Bible about the idol of the idol of self-sufficiency or something. No, not self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is healthy. I think it's like I think it's like self-idolization or something, or idolization is never good from a biblical standpoint, but that means sort of, trying to be something on a pedestal, for example. So it's like, you kind of idolize, you kind of, to separate yourself from others and like just I've lost it, but basically your relationships, though you may have good relationships, as I hope that I do, it's great to have good relationships, but they won't fix your problems, and being self-aware is the best thing you can do for yourself and others, because there's no guarantee, even if you did have that expectation of someone to fulfill your codependent needs, that they would actually do it anyway. So it's just like a good safety net to be able to do that for yourself, because you can develop problems if you can't give that to yourself as an adult. But they say, quick little quote, an absence of answers and an absence of resource creates creativity and faith. So again, a bit of a what the hell kind of video, but these are videos that I do actually enjoy making, to be honest. One that is quite straight from the soul and straight from like right inside me, but some powerful thoughts if you've caught up and caught along to what I'm actually saying, to how life can be improved, or your life can be more understandable, or can help you release some of the pent-up energy and stress in the body and mind. Because I was doing, just as a quick side note at the end, is that I found I was doing like a really good little thing on reverse manifestation, which I'm not going to go into all manifestation. I've said I'm more about like God over manifestation. I do think things come in levels and God is like right at the top. But the way this woman was talking about how people can go into life with a mindset of fear rather than love, especially as a child, when you feel like you have no choice, you have all this fear, and that's what drives your actions. But they say reprogramming yourself as an adult, it's best to go into decisions from a place of love rather than fear, because and she was talking about how all this fear and excess energy can be stored in our like bodies and stuff, basically because we think we have to do something, we get a lot of excess energy from something, and it's kind of stays in our body because it's never released, if you know what I mean. So just I'm starting to digress slightly and get a bit big picture, kind of overwhelming kind of talk here, but this was a bit of a spacey topic. So